I swear to God, I didn't know he had a girlfriend. Like, I swear to God.
So then I said, why you calling me so early in the morning? How you know I'm up? He said, because I love you. And he said, there's something else you don't know. And then I was like, huh? And then he reached down and put out a gun. I said, man, what are you doing with that gun? He started shooting. He shot her. And then he put the gun to his head. And that's what it was. Then I had to bury my best friend.
This is Stephanie Mosley, a rising star in the entertainment world whose life came to a tragic and violent end. Known for her stunning performances alongside icons like Beyoncé, Chris Brown, and Rihanna, Stephanie's life was defined by ambition, talent, and overcoming the odds. But in one fateful morning, her dreams were shattered when her rapper husband would brutally end her life over a disturbing discovery. A discovery so shocking, it shattered the facade of their seemingly perfect Hollywood romance. Earl Hayes, her husband and a rapper with ties to the famous Floyd Mayweather, was consumed by jealousy and suspicion. What began as an argument soon escalated into an act of unimaginable violence. Stephanie's screams echoed through their luxurious LA apartment moments before the sounds of gunshots shattered the calm morning. In an instant, the woman who had danced her way into the hearts of millions was gone, and the man who had once promised to love her would go on to commit a cowardly act of taking his own life. What was the disturbing discovery that led to this catastrophic breakdown? What was the tipping point for a man once known for his kindness and love? This is the story of how fame, trust, and unresolved pain culminated in a tragedy no one saw coming.
Around 7:30 this morning, a neighbor calling 911 after hearing and screaming from a woman in a next-door apartment. We're told the initial call said that as many as 10 shots were heard. Patrol officers arrived on scene. They entered the apartment. They found a back bedroom door closed, and when they tried to enter that back door, that's when they heard an additional 2 shots.
Before we uncover the disturbing discovery that led to this catastrophic breakdown, let me take you back to how it all started. Stephanie Elise Mosley was born on February 14, 1984, in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Born on Valentine's Day, Stephanie's arrival seemed to be a sign that the world was about to be blessed with an endless supply of love, joy, and light. From the very start, her life was one marked by movement, both literally and figuratively. At just 2 years old, Stephanie began her dance journey, stepping into a world of ballet and rhythm that would come to define her. Growing up in the Lower Mainland area of Vancouver, she was enrolled in prestigious dance schools like Pacific Arts Ballet, Kirkwood Academy, and Dance Mode Productions, where she honed her skills for years. By the time she was 15 years old, her talents had caught the attention of competitive dance judges, and she began accumulating awards, each victory pushing her closer to her dream of becoming a professional performer.
I met Stephanie Mosley in 2002. She had just moved to LA. She was a part of a dance group called Best Kept Secret, and my cousin was doing her makeup, and I just thought she was the most gorgeous girl, and she didn't have any friends in LA, and she just had the dancer world. So I decided I'd take her under my wings, and at that time I was headed to college, and I decided I wanted to be a model, so we made a pact, and we decided that we were going to figure this business out and become stars together.
Stephanie wasn't just another dancer. She was destined for something more. Her ambition led her to Los Angeles in 2002, when she was just 18 years old, to chase her dreams in a city filled with the promise of fame. She joined the dance group Best Kept Secret, and soon the entertainment world began to take notice. Stephanie didn't just enter Hollywood, she became one of its brightest stars. Stephanie's resume reads like a who's who of the music and entertainment industry. She performed with Beyoncé, Rihanna, and Chris Brown, as well as many other A-list artists. She became a staple in music videos, award shows, and live performances, often being called on for her impeccable skills and magnetic stage presence. Whether it was dancing in music videos, performing on world tours, or appearing in television specials, Stephanie's work always left a lasting impact on audiences. Her acting career also flourished, with notable roles in films like Catwoman in 2004 and Idlewild in 2006. As the years went on, she expanded into choreography, working on films like Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn, and contributing to the visual artistry of films such as Sparkle and Mirror. However, it was a particular role that threw her in the limelight. She earned a recurring role on Hellcats between 2010 and 2011, appearing in 11 episodes. Not only that, she went on to get a role as Jelly, a devil girl on VH1's Hit the Floor in 2013-2014 that truly solidified her as a household name.
I was home, I guess, last year, and I got the call for the Devil Girls, like for this new dance TV series that was going to be filmed in LA, and I literally was like, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I want. This is what I worked for. This is it. Like, I was like, this is mine. Like, everything about it, I was like, it's mine. It's mine. It just is mine. And I went to the audition and I was like, nope, it's mine. And I got called for another audition. I was like, nope, it's mine. And when I got sides for an acting role. I was like, yes, it's mine.
She appeared in 14 episodes of the series, gaining a dedicated fan base and industry-wide recognition. Stephanie's star was shining bright, but as with many public figures, there was far more going on behind the scenes. While she dazzled audiences with her talent, her personal life was starting to spiral into turbulence. In 2008, Stephanie married Earl Warren Hayes, a Detroit-born rapper who had his own dreams of success. Earl was born on May 28, 1980, in Detroit, Michigan, a city whose raw, unfiltered rap culture would leave a lasting imprint on his creative identity. Growing up amid Detroit's gritty authenticity, he absorbed the rhythms, struggles, and stories that later shaped both his lyrical style and his artistic approach to music. Like Stephanie, Earl's ambitions stretched far beyond the familiar streets of his hometown. He envisioned a future where his talents could reach wider audiences and open new doors to possibilities. In the early 2000s, driven by that hunger for success, he embarked on his own journey to Los Angeles, a city synonymous with opportunity. There, he pursued dreams in both music and acting, chasing chances that Detroit simply could not offer. Determined to carve out a place for himself in the entertainment world, and by the time he met Stephanie, he had started gaining traction. Known for his affiliation with Floyd Mayweather's Filthy Rich Records, Earl was surrounded by the glitz and glam of the entertainment world, much like his wife. He collaborated with major names in music, including 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, and Timbaland. In 2013, Earl and Stephanie's relationship reached a new level of visibility when they appeared together in Floyd Mayweather's Showtime documentary 30 Days in May. The film chronicled the champion boxer's intense preparation for an upcoming fight, while also offering audiences rare behind-the-scenes glimpses into his inner circle. Amid the training montages and candid moments, Earl and Stephanie were portrayed as a glamorous couple, seamlessly woven into Floyd's world of fame and luxury. Their presence suggested a life many aspiring entertainers could only dream of, one filled with access, recognition, and the allure of success. On the surface, Earl and Stephanie appeared to be the perfect couple, a rising power duo in the entertainment industry. Their marriage seemed to be a harmonious blend of ambition and love. They supported each other's careers and shared the high life that comes with being part of Hollywood's elite. However, just a few years into their marriage, their world began to crack. Earl's jealousy, particularly over accusations of infidelity, began to take hold. He became fixated on a rumored affair between Stephanie and Trey Songz, a popular R&B singer. While the allegations were never confirmed, they planted a seed of doubt and suspicion that would grow into something uncontrollable. By 2012, the couple had separated, and Earl's emotional state deteriorated. Friends described him as devastated, spiraling into a toxic cycle of jealousy and obsession. The separation lasted about a year, and though Stephanie and Earl reconciled in 2013, their relationship never fully healed from the wounds of betrayal and suspicion. Despite attempts to rebuild their marriage, the unresolved issues lingered and the resentment festered. On the morning of December 8, 2014, everything that had been brewing beneath the surface erupted in a violent and deadly confrontation. At approximately 7 a.m., Earl initiated a FaceTime call with his friend and mentor, Floyd Mayweather, who had become a source of support for him over the years. During the call, Earl confessed to Floyd that he intended to kill Stephanie over the infidelity accusations that had haunted their marriage for years. Floyd, trying to calm Earl down, urged him to walk away from the relationship rather than committing an irreversible act. However, Earl's mind was clouded by rage and paranoia. Worst of all, he was exacerbated by substances Stephanie and he had consumed throughout the night. The FaceTime conversation was interrupted by the sound of Stephanie's screams and the gunshots that would silence her forever. Earl shot Stephanie multiple times, hitting her in the head, torso, and legs. After ensuring her death, he calmly informed Floyd Mayweather of what he had done before turning the gun on himself, ending his own life with a self-inflicted shot to the head.
We was talking a little bit. He put Stephanie on the phone. I talked to her, and I could tell that they both were. It looked like they both were doing drugs and drinking real heavy. I could tell they'd been up all night. They was talking. I heard the bath water running. He put it on FaceTime. He got back on the phone. I'm kind of getting choked up from this. So then I said, "Why you calling me so early in the morning? How you know I'm up?" He said, "Because I love you." And he said, "There's something else you don't know." And I was like, "Huh?" And then he reached down and put out a gun. I said, "Man, what are you doing with that gun?" He started and he shot her. And then he put the gun to his head. And that's what it was. Then I had to bury my best friend.
The Los Angeles Police Department was immediately alerted to the situation when neighbors of the Palazzo apartments in the Fairfax district called 911, reporting the sound of gunshots and screaming coming from the apartment of Earl Hayes and his wife, Stephanie Mosley. As the officers arrived on scene, they were quick to respond, knowing that they were facing a potentially volatile and dangerous situation. Given the nature of the call and the urgency of the situation, the officers approached the apartment cautiously. They could hear the immediate aftermath of the shots, silent, tense moments after the gunfire. Upon reaching the locked bedroom door, they tried to make entry, but were confronted with an even more harrowing sound. 2 more gunshots fired from inside.
Patrol officers arrived on scene. They entered the apartment. They found a back bedroom door closed, and when they tried to enter that back door, that's when they heard an additional 2 shots.
This only added to the already volatile nature of the situation, and the officers were faced with the undeniable reality that they were dealing with a serious crime scene. To secure the scene and protect public safety, the LAPD immediately called in a SWAT team. This escalated the situation to a barricade scenario, as it was clear that the suspect may still be inside, potentially armed and possibly dangerous. Officers had to act carefully, setting up a perimeter around the apartment complex to avoid any further potential threats to the public. Meanwhile, officers inside continued to assess the scene. The complex, home to many residents, was evacuated for safety reasons, and the traffic in the area came to a halt as the situation unfolded. The officers knew that they were dealing with an emotionally charged and dangerous scenario, but they were also operating on limited information and in a rapidly changing environment. By the time the SWAT team made its entry into the apartment, the situation was already tragically clear. They found Stephanie Mosley and Earl Hayes both dead from gunshot wounds. Stephanie had been shot multiple times, with injuries to her head, torso, and legs, possibly in an effort to flee to the bathroom, where she was likely seeking refuge. Earl Hayes, the man who had taken her life, was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his head, confirming that he had followed through with his declaration of ending his own life.
A well-known dancer who was also the star of a show on VH1 was found dead this morning alongside her rapper husband. LAPD is investigating this as an apparent. KTLA 5's Narissa Knight live in the Fairfax district with more tonight. Narissa.
Well, Sharon, Micah, up to 10 were fired here at this luxury apartment complex in the Mid-Wilshire area, according to witnesses. And inside one unit, the bodies of 2 aspiring Hollywood talents were found, a husband and wife, and an apparent.
The LAPD investigators immediately started processing the scene. They noted the firearm's position, the ballistic analysis, and other critical evidence to confirm what appeared to be a murder-suicide. The tragedy had been confined to this intimate space, a home that just hours earlier had been a place of living, love, and hope for both Earl and Stephanie. Detectives began working with the evidence at hand, including Stephanie's body and the physical placement of the firearms, to piece together what had transpired that morning. The initial investigation led them to conclude that Earl Hayes had indeed killed Stephanie and then ended his own life in a moment of irrational rage, driven by deep-seated jealousy and emotional turmoil. The FaceTime call between Earl and his close friend Floyd Mayweather, during which Earl confessed to shooting Stephanie and planned to take his own life, was a critical piece of evidence. Floyd's testimony was pivotal, though tragic. He was the last person to have had contact with Earl before the murders took place, and he tried, desperately, to talk Earl down from his decision. Since Earl Hayes was dead at the scene, there was no arrest necessary for the shooter. The investigation, however, turned into a thorough examination of the events leading up to the tragedy. The authorities wanted to understand the full scope of the toxic relationship that had escalated to such deadly heights. They also began piecing together the psychological and emotional damage that had built up in Earl's mind after years of unresolved jealousy, suspicions of infidelity, and accusations that haunted him. With no other suspects, the LAPD focused on gathering information from the people who knew both Stephanie Mosley and Earl Hayes intimately. They spoke to friends, family, and colleagues in the entertainment industry to get a full picture of the relationship between the two. Everyone who knew the couple expressed shock as there were no outward signs of the violence that had occurred. Floyd Mayweather, who had been in the FaceTime call with Earl during the incident, was questioned as well. However, it was made clear that Floyd Mayweather was not a suspect. He had been a witness, trying to talk Earl out of his destructive course of action, but sadly, to no avail. Floyd Mayweather later revealed the harrowing experience of hearing Stephanie's screams and the gunshots that marked the end of both her life and Earl's. Detectives also took into consideration Earl's past history of emotional struggles, particularly the infidelity accusations that had shattered the trust between him and Stephanie. Although they never found concrete evidence that Stephanie had been unfaithful to Earl, his own insecurities and suspicions about her relationships with other men, particularly Trey Songz, fueled the toxic jealousy that would ultimately lead to the fatal confrontation. The LAPD continued to investigate every aspect of the relationship between Earl and Stephanie. They combed through past texts, social media posts, and any communications that could shed light on what had been happening behind the closed doors of their luxury apartment in Los Angeles. Despite Earl's death, the investigation remained crucial for closure and justice. Stephanie's friends and family were left without answers as to why a man who had once promised to love and protect her had turned into the very monster that took her life. The news of Stephanie Mosley's tragic death sent unbelievable shock throughout both the entertainment community and her family. To those who knew her, the loss was incomprehensible. Stephanie was more than just a dancer and actress. She was the heartbeat of her family and an inspirational figure to many. She had fought hard to make her dreams come true, overcoming the loss of her own mother at just 2 years old and the struggles of rising to the top of the entertainment industry.
Stephanie was an absolute angel. She really was. Everybody she's ever met. She's brought so many of these people into my life. She's connected so many people together. And she's just loved. She will never, ever, ever, ever be forgotten. She is so loved.
Friends, family, and colleagues all expressed their devastation and disbelief at the brutality of her end. Those from her time on shows like VH1's Hit the Floor were equally heartbroken. Friends such as Eva Marcille Pigford, who had known Stephanie since their teenage years, recalled that there were no outward signs of physical abuse in their relationship. To them, what they observed resembled the ordinary ups and downs that many couples experience, moments of tension balanced by reconciliation, the kind of struggles that seemed manageable and far from alarming.
Everyone has their problems, but if you're asking if anyone knew that, something would come to this, no. It was the last of what anybody would have thought. I thought it was a lie when I got the phone call.
Stephanie's energy and joy were contagious, and her absence left an unfillable void in both her personal circle and in the broader world of entertainment. Stephanie's memory was now held in the hearts of those she had touched, but for her family, the loss was particularly devastating. The emotional toll on Earl's family was also profound. They were left grappling with the shock that the man they had known as caring and loving had turned violent, taking his own life along with the woman he had sworn to love. Burrell Wilkes, who had been Earl's best friend and life coach, said it best when he described how hard it was to comprehend that the man he had known for so long could commit such an act of violence. He could hardly accept that the man they saw as a caring and sharing gentleman could be capable of such destruction. For Stephanie's family, there was also the painful realization that Stephanie had been trapped in a toxic relationship. Despite attempts to rebuild, the underlying issues that had never been fully addressed had now led to the most unimaginable consequence. The accusations, particularly the deep-seated jealousy over Stephanie's alleged affair with Trey Songz, had poisoned their marriage, and now her family would have to carry the weight of that loss forever. A funeral service for Stephanie Moseley was held shortly after her passing, with friends, family, and colleagues coming together to mourn the loss of a bright light extinguished too soon. A GoFundMe memorial fund was set up by her colleagues from the Hit the Floor series, raising over $8,700 to help cover the funeral expenses and to provide support for her family during this incredibly difficult time.
The service was a bittersweet tribute to Stephanie's life. Those who knew her best shared stories of her infectious positivity, kindness, and how she brought people together through her warm spirit. It was a time to remember her as more than just the talented dancer and actress. It was an opportunity for those closest to her to say goodbye to the best friend, daughter, and sister who had meant so much to them. At the service, there was grief, yes, but also celebration of the beautiful, vibrant woman Stephanie had been. Through music, memories, and shared love, everyone who had known her vowed to keep her legacy alive. Stephanie had lived a life full of joy, purpose, and love, and now her family and friends were committed to ensuring that she would not be forgotten. Stephanie's death, while tragic, raises some very important questions that we must all confront. What happens when jealousy and unresolved emotional trauma fester? What can we do to recognize the signs of toxic relationships before they escalate to violence? Stephanie's situation is not unique. Too often we see relationships where suspicion and jealousy grow unchecked, leading to unimaginable outcomes. In this case, Earl Hayes' accusations were never proven to be true, but the emotional toll they took on him and Stephanie was undeniable. Jealousy, insecurities, and mistrust can all contribute to a toxic environment, even in the most glamorous of settings. If we can learn anything from this, it's the importance of open communication in relationships and seeking help when needed. I also want to encourage awareness and action in the wake of Stephanie's death. As we honor her memory, it's crucial to remember that domestic violence doesn't always look the way we expect it to. It's not always about bruises or scars. Sometimes it's about emotional control, manipulation, and threats that slowly wear away at a person's sense of self-worth and safety. Stephanie Moseley's life was tragically cut short, but her legacy, her passion for dance, and her immense talent will continue to live on through the people she touched in the entertainment world, her family, and her friends. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.